Hello, we are live, Stormy, and welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. Wow. Okay, right. I'm going to tell you straight away, I'm a bit drunk. So, the reason why we're late today is because I was watching my team, Manchester United, destroy Arsenal, who were top of the league. But anyway, let's go. Let's just see what happens. So, Stormy, how are you feeling, mate?
Well, I'm still COVID positive, but my coughing gets a little bit less every day. And I'm going to cough all over your show. So I've got Kleenex, no spray, Coke, cough drop.
Balls relief. Very good. Well, as long as you are well enough, we're happy. Right. So today we're going to have a little bit of chat about the Rings of Power, and we're going to throw a little bit of House of the Dragon in, just to, have that little bit of a curveball. But you've obviously seen the 2 opening episodes.
Dude. Yes, I have.
Good. That's a good start. So, just generally, what did you think? Generally, we'll get into the minutiae of it, but what did you think?
Well, after I watched them both twice, it was amazing to me how well they did in terms of storytelling with all the restrictions the Tolkien estate has on Amazon Studios. I mean, Amazon Studios can't use Silmarillion, they can't use this, or they certainly can't use Fellowship of the Ring or Lord of the Ring or whatever. And the Tolkien estate more or less had, I guess, final cut on what was appropriate. They can't uncanonize anything.
They had final word on everything. Yeah. $400 million, mate, doesn't buy you what it used to.
God.
It's like, here's $400 million and you'll do as you're told. Yes. And Amazon were like, okay. Whatever it takes to get this show made, we'll do.
Whatever. But I absolutely loved it.
Bless you, so poorly.
It was very well done. The acting was incredible.
We'll get the haters out of the way, shall we? Just a few minutes. Let's get the haters out of the way.
Let's get the haters out of the way.
Right. So, I'll talk to you a bit about. I've watched a bunch of videos from proper Tolkien fans that have really torn this apart. Some really positive, some really negative. We'll talk about the positive ones a bit. But let's get the negative shit out of the way. They have a lot of videos have jumped on. I say a lot of these videos have a massive agenda, right? Because they've been saying that this show is going to be a pile of shit for 6 months. Right. And now they've watched it. They're like, no, it's actually quite good. But they can't say, it's quite good. So what they've said is it's boring. And I think they've got a point to a line. It was it's a bit slow.
Right.
Not a lot happens in the first episode of action. But that's like every TV show ever. You've got a lot of story to tell. There's a lot to set up. There's a lot of characters to introduce. And the second episode, I thought, really cracked on. I thought there was a lot more going on in the second episode from a point of view. But that's what they said. All the videos have gone. All that shit about woke. We said, don't worry about that. It's boring. Instead. There's a lot of people talked about the $1 billion, which is also not quite true, really. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've spent a lot of money on this show, but they haven't really spent $1 billion on the first series. They've spent $1 billion on 5 seasons so far. That a lot of the money they've spent will trickle through the whole project, sort of thing. And they've talked an awful lot about why the hobbits in this. There shouldn't be hobbits. And they goes, well, there aren't. They're Harfoots. And they go, oh, yeah, but those are still hobbits. Well, they're not. So calm down. Yusuf just said there that he didn't like it. That's okay. I don't mind if you don't like it. I do mind if you decided 6 months ago that you're not going to like it. That kind of pisses me off.
That really, I mean, it does. If there's anything that proves that you have an agenda, you don't like it before you haven't seen it.
100% agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. The other big point.
Hang on 1 second. I'm listening to something. Hang on 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Keep
Okay.
going. I'm listening.
Right. So the other big point, a lot of the videos have been thrown out. Oh, he's got a book. Oh, he's going to read to us. Oh, crap. So the other big point a lot of these videos have made is on the Rotten Tomatoes score of 36% on the audience appreciation. So the critics have scored it like 95%. But the things, a lot of channels have thrown that out there. But with even just a little bit of research, you can find out that Rotten Tomatoes actually had to freeze the ratings because they had so many bots coming in. So basically, it was a really loud minority voting thousands and thousands of times zero. So they actually had to freeze a load of counts, and they've had to freeze the rating thing. Right. So what I thought I would do is I would put a thing on my channel, and I would ask the subscribers, the lovely subscribers, what they thought, and they just rated it 1 to 5. It'll give me a second to get there because I want to do it live. So 1 to 5, what did you think? I rated it as a 4. I thought it was a little bit slow, but understandably slow. All right. Right. So 1, hate it, 14%. I think that's fair enough for any show. 2, 20%. 3, it was okay. It's got potential. Was 30%, 27%. 4 out of 5, brilliant score, 22%. 5 out of 5, absolutely loved it, 18%. So I would argue that there, what's that? I'll do that math quickly. 49, over 60% of this either thought it's got potential and it's absolutely fine. It's okay, got potential, or absolutely loved it. Only 14% actually said they hate it. But you look at the YouTube videos, you think it was the worst show ever made. And that kind of pisses me off. These kind of people with agendas, you just want to go, fuck off. RMG's just mentioned that the sound isn't great. I think that's you, Stormy, but you're on your laptop today, aren't you? So it's not.
I apologize. I'm on my laptop. I'm in a very echoey room.
And you're really
not my normal computer because I can't go to my normal house because I've got COVID and I don't want to spread it all over Tarnation. So I apologize.
So it's either, I'm sorry guys, but it's either you just listening to me on my own or a little bit of crappy sound. But we'll do our best. And I can't talk on my own for an hour. So 500 million's bought this, other than visuals. Yeah, well, the visuals are cinema standard. Absolutely.
Very run-of-the-mill fantasy.
Yeah. But very run-of-the-mill fantasy. I just think it needs to temper. But I tell you one question. We'll ask a question a bit later on because there's another fantasy TV show at the moment with swords and dragons and things called House of the Dragon that's also 2 or 3 episodes in. So maybe we'll compare the two a little later. But for now, generally, you liked it. You thought it was good.
I liked it. I saw the episodes on Thursday when they first dropped here in the U.S. And I said, well, let me go and like it. And I couldn't. Then I went to IMDb and I said, well, let me go comment. And I couldn't.
They had to freeze
for 12 hours, and there was 0 reviews, and it had a 1 score with 0 reviews.
Yeah.
And since then, IMDb has opened up their polling, and if you look at the rankings, right now it's at 6.7 is what it ranks on IMDb. If you look at the weighted score, 33% of the audience gave it a 10. Another 10% gave it a 9. Another 10% gave it an 8. Another 5% gave it, a 5. It says 33, 43, 53. So more than 60% of the viewers rated it, 7 or above. But then the ones, the people that rated it as a 1 is 25%.
There's a lot of people that wanted to hate this show.
And
And don't get me wrong, not everyone's going to like the show, but these people that think they know exactly what Tolkien would have wanted. There's this one, he is a British guy, to be fair, so I'm going to apologize about my entire nation. But there's this one guy who's been doing videos about hating this for months and months and months, and he is double down. He says this is the worst, and he keeps saying about, oh, these critics say it's shit as well. And he dug out 1 or 2 critics that hated it. Most of the critics have said they absolutely love it, but the storyline in the first couple of episodes is a bit stunted, and it's a bit difficult because there's lots and lots of characters to introduce. But it's one of the most visually beautiful things we've ever had on television, and which is 100% true. You can see where a couple $100 million went.
Yeah. And another thing I'd like to address is we were discussing wokeness earlier, and the Harfoots, and where's all these black people coming from? Where's all these dark characters coming from? This is the Tolkien Dictionary, first published in 1979, I think it was. Yes, 1979 by Octopus Publishing. Here's the definition of Harfoot. Most numerous and typical of the Hobbit strains were those who were named the Harfoot. They were the smallest of the halflings, and their skin and hair were nut brown. The Harfoot were the first of the Hobbit people to leave the Vales of Anduin and cross over the Misty Mountains into Eredor. The migration was the year of 1050 of the Third Age. They were the friendliest with the dwarves. They loved their hillsides and highlands, and the whole dwelling to them was a joy. So they were migrating. They've always been migrating, and they stopped migrating sometime in the early mid Third Age. So right there it is.
They even mentioned that in the series, didn't they? In the second episode, they even mentioned how as soon as they saw the meteorite, they were like, "Let's break camp and let's get out of here," sort of thing. And they're like, "No, we're safer in the camp." So they show that they're migratory, even though I think. So on the positive, I watched a couple of videos from people that really know about Lord of the Rings, as you do, because I don't. I'm one of the casual viewers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But I'm one of the more casual viewers. So the amount of detail they put in, but like you mentioned earlier, the amount of stuff they're having to skirt around because they don't have the rights. They're saying there's a couple of battles that are mentioned in the first couple of minutes. They can't name them because they don't have the rights to them. And that's pissed off the Tolkienists. But I'm like, or the people that have decided they hate the show. But I'm like, Amazon don't have a choice on that. They're going as far as they can without getting sued. Or without the Tolkien family, which they really don't want to do.
Right. They are kind of restricted, but they do have a lot of material to draw on. And just from the first 2 episodes, I've seen threads of and suggestions of other works from the world of Lord of the Rings. Some of it comes from the treason of Isengard.
Yep.
Sauron defeated. The War of the Ring. The Shaping of Middle Earth, The Lays of Berlin, The Lost Road, Berlin and Luthien, Book of Lost Tales, Part 2 and Part 1, Morgoth's Ring, Children of Corn, there's a little bit of that in there, and there's a whole bunch from Children of Peoples of Middle Earth, and then there's they're going to get to this one. War of the Jewels, but most of it comes from Unfinished Tales. Oops, I had it upside down. Unfinished Tales. So me and the OneRing.net Discord kind of really broke down where a lot of this material is coming from and where the stories could possibly go. And they can't use The Hobbit, can't use any of the Lord of the Rings books, can't use the Silmarillion.
That seems to be a big problem for
but there's a lot of
things
that they can draw on. Now, one thing I saw that was not canon, absolutely made up, was excuse me. the I forget the actor's name, but he was. Oh yeah, Charlie Vickers playing Halbrand. He was the dude on the boat.
Oh yes,
Glad rail. I guess we should say there's going to be spoilers in this.
there will be spoilers if you haven't seen it. You're one of the 25 million people who didn't watch it immediately. But this honestly, this is bombed. Amazon are regretting making it because it's bombed so badly.
Oh yeah,
25 million people in 20, the biggest premiere they've ever had. But anyway, go on.
But Halbrand is a new character.
That's okay.
And he may be found out to be the son of another character. But that is mentioned in like the Silmarillion or something. And it reminds you that Halbrand, whoever this guy is, has approval from the Tolkien estate for being non-canon or new canon. And so we just don't. But there are several things. God, there must be like a dozen people that he could be the son of or related to, or something that's not absolutely named, but it is that person. We just don't know yet. It's like the stranger that came in the fireball to Earth.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's one of the blue wizards who's never been named by Tolkien anywhere, or he could be a Balrog, one of those demons. We just don't know.
Yeah.
So there's lots we just don't know, but there's lots of material that is yet to be revealed. And remember, Amazon has 48 more hours to tell this story.
Oh yes, we got a while to go. Yeah. The one thing I'd say is that people also need to remember is this is a new story set 6,000 years before the Lord of the Rings. It is based on Tolkien, and that seems to be the big argument a lot of people have. And it goes, well, Tolkien would be rolling in his grave, and I'm like, there's a lot of people that seem to know exactly what Tolkien would want and what he wouldn't want. I mean, the family, they're the people who have actually got an invested interest in the Tolkien name.
Yeah.
And they're more than happy. I know, obviously, they got $400 million out of this, which that would make me very happy too. But, I mean, they're not poor people anyway, because, I mean, they made quite a lot of money. But also, they went out of their way to make sure they kept control of lots of things. And when the story maker said, well, we would quite like some wizards in this, they went, well, you can't, because they didn't exist in the first age. So you can't have them. Tough. And the filmmakers are like, oh, one wizard, get one. And they're like, no. Gandalf in the background. No.
This is kind of rumored to be in the second age. The original we talked about.
It's supposed to be I thought it was supposed to. It starts in the first, doesn't it? But it wanders into the second. But I mean, the family, from what I read, said you can't have him, so you can't have him.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. It's like Fellowship of the Ring started kind of in the tail end of the first age, and when the second age, when Sauron lost the ring, lost his finger to Hand of the King during that battle, but that was all prelude to whatever. Yeah, so there's lots of prelude there to earlier age. They show the two trees of Valor, which it's like day one, man.
So I tell you what, the first couple of bits I loved from the first episode. Elves are dicks, when they, particularly young elves. But from again, what I've read is that's what's in all the material, that they are dicks. They're apparently very arrogant, very up themselves, and it was after several severe wars, and the race got a lot older that they mellowed by the third age. But the one bit I watched the first bit. He I don't know the character's name, sorry, but he leans into Galadriel and he says, "Why do boats float and rocks sink?" And I went, "Oh, I know this one. It's mass and density." And then he went, "Oh, it's because of the light and the dark and the thing." And I'm going, No, it's the mass and the density thing. He leans in and whispers, "You don't always know until you touch the light." No, it's still the density thing. But
it's a density.
I might have missed a big chunk of the first episode because I was just there going, I'm sure it's fucking mass and density. But I did like that. And to be honest, I loved it. I loved the character, the Galadriel character, because I can see how it ends up. And I'd love for you to give us a bit of a rundown of the Galadriel character in a second for the more casual viewer. Because obviously I know her from the film, but it's only very brief. But I understand. I don't really. I did read the books when I was a kid, but I don't really remember. But her obsession. Some people have actually dared to come out and call her a Mary Sue. It's just like, oh, just she's awesome and running around, and all the men are making look stupid. And I'm like, she's obsessed. That's the point. Look how good she is at climbing mountains.
Because oh my God. Well, going back a little bit before we get to the Mary Sue time, the elves have always been at war with somebody. I mean, there hasn't been big, long, huge straits of peace in Elvendom. I mean, hell, they're always making weapons. I mean, even in season 2, they're wanting to build that. In episode 2, they're wanting to build this new forge to make nice things.
That sound is pretty bad there, mate. A second, you might want to start that again. That was, I don't know what was going on there, but there's a lot of scratchy noises.
They've always, they've always been at war, and up until the Third Age, they were mostly a warlike race. I mean, and even in the Peter Jackson films, we see scene after scene of fallen elf. In the swamps going into Moria, Frodo does a header right into partially preserved dead elf bodies, from some long lost war. The landscape of Middle Earth is kind of saturated with mass graves of elves. So they've always been, a warlike culture. I mean, they've always tried to be on the side of light, but of course, there's a lot of darkness in Tolkien.
Yeah. They definitely like a rumble.
But the reason for Galadriel, I mean, she was by the time we get to the Return of the King, I mean, Galadriel is the last elf that's ever seen the light of the trees of the Valar. She's it. None of the elves have seen them. I mean, it was such a long time ago, and she's probably one of the oldest elves alive by the time we get to Return of the King. I think she's actually probably older than Gandalf.
Yep.
By several thousand years. So, throughout the book, she's always had, swords and armor and she was very, what we see in The Hobbit and a little bit in Lord of the Rings, she really didn't use a sword as much as over her life, she honed her magical skills. And we kind of see in The Hobbit where she uses kind of some dark magic skills. So she kind of moved away from, elven wrought armor and swords to something a little bit more creepy during the Third Age.
Oh, okay. So what sort of weapons do you mean? What you mean, more magical weapons or something? What?
Well, I mean, this was in a battle of the 5 armies, I think it was. She turns into the dark Galadriel. She, just this almost a black and white ghostly apparition of Galadriel's spirit as she does battle with the necromancer, which comes out in the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
She's always had a battle going on with Sauron. I mean, from
well, that's set up really early in this, isn't it? That she is. That's not. It's an obsession, and that's the whole point of this. Is it one of those things? I was like, oh, she climbs the mountain so quickly. She does this, this, and this, and I'm like, yes, because she is
an elf.
Beyond obsessed, though, as well. The other elves are starting to doubt it after several decades. They're starting to doubt it, whereas she is just fixated on Sauron. And even when they get to the final that final castle, that final outpost that's supposed to be in this. That we're not supposed to go any further than this, and that she still wants to, and everyone else is like, oh, come on, let's not be too silly.
One thing, climbing up the mountain so quickly, and the athleticism, that's part of the lore of elves in Tolkien's works, is they are very adept at moving quickly through natural landscapes. If you like during Fellowship of the Ring, when they were going on their way to Moria, and Saruman sent this whole storm toward the mountain, and all this snow comes and traps everybody. If you look, Legolas is still walking on top of the snow. Everybody else is buried underneath it. He can walk on the snow without leaving tracks. And most people didn't pick that up. Yep. But her swimming through the Sundering Sea very quickly. Other elves, like climbing up the mountain quite readily, and a lot of things that you see Legolas do in Lord of the Rings was kind of, trippy. Like he's
yeah, but Legolas he's allowed to. Right. Oh, bless you, man. You're so sick. Thank you so much for still coming on, even though you're really, really not well.
Oh, we're talking about Tolkien. I mean, it was perfect clickbait for me.
So, obviously, I've watched The House of the Dragon.
Yes.
What do you think of The House of the Dragon? The first two episodes of that, because I mean, that's got big shoes to fill in itself.
I didn't know Matt Smith could be so creepy.
He's good in it.
Unsettling, man. I mean, I see him mostly as, what was it, Prince?
It's Doctor Who.
Well, Doctor Who, yeah, but recently in The Crown, Prince.
Oh, he was. I never actually watched it, but he was.
Charles. He's Prince Charles, right? And he was kind of, Prince Charles. And of course, then he was Doctor Who there for a while. But then, God, I mean, then he was in his portrayal. And,
we saw him being a little bit naughty in the Terminator movie that he was in.
Well,
kind of creepy in that, but that was a terrible movie. But he was good in that. But now he's just a bloody good actor. At the end of the day,
he's a bloody good actor, and I've only seen the first episode of House of the Dragon. I would say his performance carried it. Just the first episode.
The second episode's even better.
Holy shit, did he carry it?
Yeah, it's more. He's not in it in the second episode, but it's building up towards the war that is obviously going to happen. To me, if I had to pick, if you said to me, right, you can only watch one, you can only watch The House of the Dragon or Ring of Power, I'd be like, House of the Dragon. You wouldn't even have to. I wouldn't even end the question. Right. I think House of the Dragon is so much more entertaining. And don't get me wrong, there are problems with it. It's only supposed to be, I think it's 300 years before Game of Thrones, something like that. It's not that long before Game of Thrones, but the dragons are still pretty big, and they're supposed to be the size of kittens by the end of when the Mad King is there. So they must get littler or really quickly. So I think they've messed that up a little bit. But other than that little faux pas, it's just good. I mean, the way they've set it up, it still very much feels like Game of Thrones. They haven't they're not up their own arse or anything, which a lot of TV shows after the success Game of Thrones has had, they might go, well, we have to be a bit more serious now. They've gone, no, we've got a style. Let's stick to it. They've got brilliant actors again. I don't think there's any British actors left that haven't appeared in either Game of Thrones or House of the... I'm pretty sure I appeared in an episode of Game of Thrones. As the only British person that hasn't. It's 200 years, Peter. I couldn't remember. Stuck in between. But yeah, everybody's in it. If you actually have every British actor between Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, they're all in it. There aren't any left. There's none.
And the people's trailing behind, they're all in Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
Most of
them in Downton Abbey have also been in Game of Thrones. That's what they did at the weekend. But what would you think that if I said to you now, you are only allowed to watch one or the other? What would it be?
It's going to be have to read Rings of Power. I mean, I'm pretty much
Because you've got all the books, though.
I've got all the books, right? I've only got the Fire and Blood series on my Kindle.
Okay.
So I've
You
got
loser. You call yourself a Tolkienist.
these aren't actually novels. I've got another 3 feet of shelves with the DVDs, other things concerning Tolkien's life, his Christmas tales, and then actually the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit. I mean,
You need to get out more.
well, no shit. Once I get rid of this, I am so leaving this house. Oh my God.
So I think you had long periods of time when you were in school that you didn't have a girlfriend. I suspect.
I got turned on to Tolkien in 4th grade. Somebody in my hometown spray painted Frodo Lives on the local water tower. And so I asked the librarian, well, what was that all about? And she said, there's this author, and he was still alive at this time. He called J.R.R. Tolkien, and he wrote this book called The Hobbit. You should start there. And I checked it out. Life changed.
See, I watched it when I was a kid. I read it when I was a kid. Don't get me wrong. I remember the cartoon came out, and I loved the cartoon Lord of the Rings. They never quite finished it, did they? But I still loved it. So I read the books, and I was all right with them. But I preferred like the Prince Caspian stories. Maybe I read the Lord of the Rings too soon, because I'd have been about 8 or 9. And maybe I just wasn't quite ready for them. But then I read like The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Prince Caspian, those the Narnia books. Yeah, the Narnia book. But I love the Narnia books. I was the Final Battle. Voyage of the Dawn Treader was always my favorite. But I read those 2 or 3 times, and I never. Yeah, well, they've got very similar style in movies, so I completely understand they'd be good friends. Yeah. Makes sense to me. So is there anything other than like one little bit that you said? Is there anything from the first 2 episodes that you are concerned about?
Concerned?
Is the pace quick enough for you? Is enough going on? Is there anything that jumped out that you thought that doesn't quite fit? Is the style right?
Well, there's just nothing that concerns me. I don't have this concern troll mentality. I know what it is. I know what the limitations are.
Yeah.
I know they're pulling from a dozen different books and sources from Tolkien. I thought, the first episode of House of Dragons was a little bit slow. I went back and watched the first episode of Game of Thrones, and it was about the same pace. So there's lots of world. We're in an era where there's lots of world building here in Power of the Rings and House of Dragon. I don't have, so far in House of Dragon, I don't have my my imp love, going yet. I really love the character of the
yeah.
God, what a great performance! I'm not there yet. Matt Smith really fucking trips my mind, man. Oh my God, I did not expect that kind of performance out of him. It was really good. But again, I've only seen 1 episode, so I don't want to judge him. But I don't have any worries really with either House of Dragons or the Rings of Power.
Yeah.
I will say the writing for the Harfoots and the writing for the dwarves is absolutely excellent. I had to go back and put on closed captioning just so I can catch all the quick, witty dialogue of the Harfoots.
Yeah. I love how they're all from Cornwall. I love that.
It's like they're always using these cart metaphors, that was just genius.
Yeah.
And and then the husband, Durin's and his wife's bickering at the table was just excellent, man. That's very entertaining.
I say, as an Englishman, it feels very very known. You know, so the way the way the friends talk to each other, the way the whole speech is, the way Lenny Henry, the half-foot talks, and is, you know, the accents they use is very like, yes, this, and there are a couple of Americans, I believe, that wrote it. I'm sure they're Americans. One might be Canadian, I forget. But it's done very well. The way they've done it is excellent, to be honest. And yeah, I like I said, I think it's a bit slow, but I was expecting it to be slow. But I also didn't have the expectations, and I think that one of the reasons why some people are very, very angry about this show is the amount of money that Amazon have spent on it. They don't like Amazon, and people almost hate something because, well, they, like I said, they decided months ago they were going to hate it.
Yeah.
And you know, there is a lot of color in this series compared to the books, and more in the adverts, I thought. And in the adverts, it did seem like a lot of the actors were black. But actually, watching the series, it's not, you know, it's not as much as like walking down the street, how many black people I see compared to how many black people are actually in this series. It's not reflective of my society, or reflective of most TV shows nowadays. There's still a lot of white people in this show. I just don't think people need to be as upset as they are about that. I think.
Let me do a quick little 1, 2, 3. I mean, it looks like, you know, of the top cast, you got three of the main characters that are black. One is, I would say, of Indian descent.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Mom, you know, which you know, and the elephant just got captured by the orcs or whatever. He's definitely, you know, I just don't know. To be honest, I don't notice it until somebody bitches about it. You know, you know, there was all this chatter months ago about, oh my God, there's black hobbits. Where's my book? Yeah, I mean, 1979, Color of Acorns.
Even the black elf, though, I don't give a crap really, because the actor they've got to do it is actually pretty bloody good. And he's very stoic. Yeah, I think he's pretty good. He plays the part that he's supposed to play really well. You know, he's quite a broody character. He's in love with a human, and he can't have her. And other. I think he's, you know, ignore his skin color. He's a bloody good actor.
Yeah, he's in love with a girl whose father was one of the war gods.
Ooh, didn't know that.
Ooh.
So yeah, if it was me, I just think there's an awful lot of people getting very angry about something they'd already started to be angry about, but also it does seem to me that they're looking for things to be angry about now. And there are things that Amazon can't control, like we said, that there are things they don't own the rights to, so they've had to skirt around. I forget what the battle's named called, but there's some battle. And again, another video I saw said, well, why did they skirt around that? It's one of the seminal moments in blah, 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 whatever history. And I'm like, because they don't have the rights to it. They just don't. You've got to have a little bit of, your expectations are just like way up here. And also the other problem is Amazon cannot make a TV show for the extreme fans. The fans that know every little detail about every little character. Amazon can't make a TV show for those people. Nobody would. You'd have 200 people watching it. Yeah. It's just like, you know, it's just like they can't. Unfortunately, they cannot make a show for you. They have to make a show for me. They have to throw in Easter eggs for you, but I have to understand what the hell is going on.
And because this Tolkien is, you know, I'll admit, Tolkien, anything written by Tolkien is a bit on the complex side. You know, even if you look at The Hobbit, you know, in the first chapter, you've got what, 15, 20 main characters that, you know, you've got Sauron, you've got Saruman, you've got, you know, Gandalf, you've got these drunk dwarves that show up. Then you've got, you know, Frodo. Bilbo, and that's just like first chapter or two, and you got this huge cast, and that's just in The Hobbit. Oh, and you have the dragon. Yeah. So there's a lot of care, and even The Hobbit was really complicated. I mean, I remember as a fourth grader, it took me a while to get through it because there's so many people and so many languages and so many songs, and But one thing I will say about to those people, my comment about those people who think that, who are pissed off that Amazon paid so much for it and it cost so much. I am absolutely glad because you know where that money's going? The Tolkien estate. It goes back to the author and his living family.
That's very
and I'm just not saying that because I'm a Tolkien fan. I love it when writers actually get paid. I got a lot of friends that are writers, in several genres, and I know the struggles they have from publishers and how hard screwed over they get from publishers. And for me, this is at least somebody is getting tons of money. A writer or his estate is getting money from corporate America.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. I like seeing
the cost of
artists
the TV show has gone on the rights. It's like $400 million has gone on the rights, which is, by any stretch of the imagination, a crap load of money. Too much money, if I'm honest. It's too much money. But in a world where we spend $100 million on a player nowadays, for my great team, we've just the mirror effect on these cameras always gets me. I always go for the wrong tit. We spent 100 million euros, which is $85 million on a player. So I'm only thinking, well, $400 million for a work of this magnitude maybe is a little more reasonable.
Well, you got to admit, a lot of that money turned up on the screen. I've got one of these big ass 4K or 8K TVs here. Oh my God, it is luscious. The sense of presence, the sense of the amount of time they took into creating the costumes, and a lot of that money is up on the screen.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in their right mind could say that this isn't a beautifully made TV show, and that we've never really quite seen anything like it for the scale, not in a movie. And they're going to do 50 hours of this. It's not the 12 hours even of the Lord of the Rings. The director's cuts, I think, topped out about 12 hours, I think, and that was enough of a task. This is 50 hours.
I know. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's amazing, and yeah, it's. I do have concerns about the amount of money and effort Amazon are putting into Rings of Power, because there's a lot of other projects that aren't going to get done.
Oh no joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Stargate fan. I am kicking off. I want Stargate to come back, and Amazon. I do generally think one of the reasons why they're holding back, got me at it now, and other projects is because Amazon have invested so much money in the Rings of Power. It's making them just a little bit nervous about other projects. It's not just that. Streaming, so we've had the golden age of streaming services, unfortunately, over the last 5 years. They're not going to be willing to spend the money they have done because it's started to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
We're all in a cost of living crisis. We're all thinking about our costs, our money going out. We're not going to pay for 4 or 5 streaming services anymore. So that is another reason, but a big reason is the amount of money they've spent on this damn project.
It's. They did. I think this does hold the record of any TV series, broadcast, cable. It wins all the trophies in that regard. But another thing that Amazon has done. You've been watching The Sandman, I guess, still.
Adored it. I watched the last episode last night. I watched the bonus episode last night.
So, I mean, there's a crap load of money they spent there, too.
Yep.
And some of the money that like Apple TV is spending is astonishing.
Yeah.
And
Netflix
it
spend $30 million an episode on The Last Airbender, and that's a hell of a thing considering The Last Airbender was a brilliant cartoon, a terrible movie that bombed and lost everybody a lot of money, and now they're spending a lot of money on a live action series. That is brave.
That is. And look what, it's like, well, the Cowboy Bebop. I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah, I watched the first 2-3 episodes, and then I wished I was. I think this.
I didn't even get halfway through the first. It was just. It wasn't the acting; it was just the writing or something was way off.
Harris has just got back from Costa Rica, and he really wanted to be with us.
Oh, poor Harris.
He is stuck in the airport. He really tried to make it. He's even wearing his Sidetrack shirt. Look at that boy. He's advertised in this channel wherever he goes, and he's a good-looking lad. So women are looking at him at least. I might get a few views from women. That'd be good. Ladies, hello, ladies. Harris is on the channel next week. But yeah, the amount of money they've spent does concern me because, like I say, other projects coming through, but. It's not the end of the world. Sandman, though, if we talk about Sandman briefly,
sure.
I wasn't sure about the first episode. I watched the first episode and I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure about this. I don't really like the guy they've got playing the Sandman. I don't really like him. And they've got a different actor each week. By the second episode, I was like, I was an idiot in the first episode. This is awesome. And it actually is. By the third episode, I'm there thinking, if they don't get a second series, I mean, what the actual fuck? I mean, Netflix are just, they make some odd decisions sometimes. They make some good decisions as well. I think Resident Evil was just a bad show. Doesn't deserve a second series. It wasn't very good.
So I gotta admit, Sandman is one of my all-time favorite graphic novels. Watchmen and Sandman. I mean, I've got these things, right?
Yeah, very cool.
Volume 1 of all of this is volume 1. And here's volume 2.
They're very
cool. I've even got the pristine, wonderful
earthquake. Do you know? Think I was reading about one of the producers from the Sandman, and they said one of the things they were really careful about when they set the contract up with Netflix was to make sure that if Netflix didn't pick up the second season, that they could move.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very careful to make sure they weren't locked in, and I think that's very savvy.
It is very savvy.
HBO.
Once they take all of that, Amazon's money, then they can move someplace else. We'll take your money this season. Okay, you're broke. Go up to somebody else.
Oh well, I think also they must look at Netflix's financial records and go, just in case you skint next year, just in case, we'll take, I think, someone else. But like I say, there are still some big, huge amounts of money. But I do think a lot of executives are just a little bit nervous at the moment. So it's definitely slowed things down a little bit. So what are you hoping for from the next 48 hours of the Lord of the Rings? So for me, it needs to have hooked me by about 4 or 5 episodes in, because I at the moment, I'm telling you, I'm on the fence. I thought it was good, but if I'm going to keep watching it, it's got to pick up the pace a little bit for me. If I'm going to invest 50 hours of my life in this, it's got to pick up a little bit. Episode 4 for me. If I'm hooked by episode 4, we're good. What do you think?
Well, I think that there was a lot of world building in the first episode, a little bit more in the second episode, but I did see things are stepping up. There was the meteor, there's the stranger. Who the hell is the stranger? And if there's anything that I'd like to see out of the next 48 hours of this, would be one of the Blue Wizards. I'd like to. There's so little detail about the Blue Wizards throughout all of Tolkien's works. I mean, it's just, oh God, answer those questions. It's killing me. Yeah. But I like it looks like we're getting a deeper dive into dwarven culture. like in The Hobbit, the dwarves are out in the wilderness, marching toward marching toward the Lonely Mountain. In Lord of the Rings, we mostly have a dwarf trundling across the wilderness, and then when we see dwarves in their mountain fortress, well, they're all dead. Then we get orcs and Balrogs and a cave troll.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think we should call them dwarves. I think we should call them vertically challenged. A bit PC. As a shorter person myself, I think dwarf is a bit harsh, but so yes, vertically challenged. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That we don't actually get to see much of the culture of that, do we? We get to see. I think there's a lot of the Elven culture though as well that we get to see a bit more of. In the how did they get to that point? Because obviously by the Lord of the Rings, really they're leaving. They're going back to their home sort of thing, aren't they?
Going back to the West, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how that will work going forwards. And I just think there's the people that really love Tolkien, though, the ones who think if they get an answer on the Blue Wizard, like you say, they'll just go, well, it's not Tolkien anyway. So it's not an answer anyway, because it's not Tolkien. But I just think the people that are purists, read the books. Don't watch the TV show, because it's always going to annoy you. But any TV show. But those people also moaned when Lord of the Rings came out because of the things that he changed. And they really didn't like, some of them really didn't like parts of The Hobbit because he added bits, So, I mean, it's just a very angry people. But when I put a video out, I put a couple of videos out basically saying, calm the fuck down. I've never had more hate. I've never had more hate on this channel than from Tolkien fans ever. Really? Or maybe the Expanse fans. The Expanse fans get really angry. I put a video out basically saying that there was a rumor that they were going to make Series 7, even though in the video I say repeatedly that this is a rumor, and it's a rumor I don't actually believe. But I was told it in good faith, so I will tell you in good faith. But like I say, repeatedly, rumor, don't actually believe it. It could happen, but I doubt it. And I just got loads of shit for that. I'm like, you're missing the point of when I say rumor. When it looked like the third word I said in the video is rumor. Right. Excuse me, got me going. But the Tolkienists though, the real hardcore fans, they love this, and I don't mind the passion. I love the passion. Yeah. I get just as angry about Stargate and Star Trek when people slag things off, and I'm just like, because that's what I'm passionate about.
Even before they shot the first frame of Fellowship of the Ring, there was all these fans that were just really kind of ugly and bullying toward, Elijah Wood, and especially Liv Tyler. I mean, they were taking all of their anger from who Liv Tyler's dad is to her. And God, did she do a great job?
She's fantastic.
I mean, Elijah Wood did a great job.
Yeah,
and they all
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Martin Freeman's career was on a real, a very steep trajectory, and I would say doing The Hobbit gave it a bit of a hit. Yeah, don't get me wrong, he's still in the Marvel movies and whatever, but he's come back to the BBC now. It's not done his career great, but I agree with you. Fantastic job. Elijah Wood's, though, really career.
Yeah.
It's not really gone anywhere since, is it? But that's maybe he just... Sometimes you get these iconic characters and these iconic things. You've got to be a hell of an actor to drag out of it. Like Radcliffe with... after Harry Potter. Luckily, he's an amazing actor, and he's... Have you seen the advert for Weird Alkovich?
Oh my God! Yes.
That is a Weird Alkovich. I'm a huge Weird Al fan.
He did I think it was on Hulu with I forget what it was. It was about, oh God, who was it? Sandra Bullock. And he was like this evil billionaire is wanting this treasure, and she was a romance.
Lost Treasure or something.
Yeah, Radcliffe killed, man. I mean, he was so good.
He's just a good actor. He's just a really
Yeah.
good actor. But he was sensible. After Harry Potter, he went back to the theatre and he learned his craft. And he got naked in that horse he played. Yeah, doing things like that. He learned his craft. He must have had so many movie parts, but he went, no, I want to go and learn my craft. And he was hurt at the time. He was drinking a lot, and and he was having a few problems. But I mean, but he learned his craft, and he's come back. And oh my God, he's a good actor. That thing he did a movie. He got lost in the jungle, and it's based on a true story. And I forget what it's called, but it was on. I think it was on Amazon. And by the end of it, he'd lost like 2 stone by the end of it because he's that committed to the role, sort of thing. And again, it's one of those parts all the way through. You go and you're just in awe of him, and it's only a matter of time till he gets the right part to win an Oscar. But parts like Weird Al, which is obviously, I've seen the advert. It's not remotely true, any of it. It's all bullshit. It's like him having an affair with Madonna and him being, it's definitely a Weird Al movie. But it's the untold true story in that it's untold because it's not true. But I can't wait, and I've been listening to a lot of polka this week. Listening to an awful lot of polka, but I absolutely love it. On every album, Weird Al will do this polka montage of like songs that are popular that year. So it's all these like really heavy rock songs, but polka. It's just like, I love it. I freaking boom 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 boom. Great. But anyway, that's going off topic.
In terms of Elijah Wood, he did a lot of quirky stuff after Lord of the Rings, like he did Wilford.
Yeah.
And he also what was the name of it? He was a voice in Star Wars Resistance. But Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. He was also in that.
That was awful. The British version was much better. The American version was terrible.
The one thing he's mostly been doing now, he's got a production company for not slasher type of horror movies. He wants to go back to like emotional horror stories, and he's got like almost 20 credits for that.
Cool. Okay.
Because he took his Lord of the Rings money and just started a horror production company.
I love that. Doing something he loves. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we'll get back to it because we're going to call it an evening. It was called A Lost City. Thank you very much for the character Dash McMahon. And the other fella in it that was in all the dancing videos, the stripper videos. I've forgotten his fucking name. I love him. He's one of those great actors, and he's the other character in it. They're not the Brad Pitt one, the other one. What's his name? He was up for the part of John Carter. You know, the John Carter movie that absolutely bombed. He was desperate to do it, and they gave it to the other fella. And let me see, I'll get his name in 1 second. Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum was absolutely desperate to do it, and they gave it to the other fella, and the movie bombed. And I think if they'd have given it Channing Tatum, I don't think that movie would have bombed quite so much. My mom would have gone to watch it because Channing Tatum would have top off the last sections of the movie, and she 100% would have gone to watch it. Because my mom she watches all the Marvel movies, and it's not because she likes Marvel movies, it's because I keep telling her Chris Hemsworth is in it. And he gets her top off, and she's like, "Oh,
are you as marveled out as I am?"
I think there is definitely fatigue, but I also think Marvel are shooting themselves in the foot because they're having quality over quantity. No, the other way around. Quantity over quality.
There you go. Yeah, because I mean, I watched
the CGI. The CGI is so dodgy in the last couple of projects.
You know, I did watch other things this week. You know, I'm now on. Since we last spoke, I think I've watched 7 or 8 seasons of Stargate SG-1. I'm on season 4.
In a week.
Dude, COVID is driving me. I am so bored. I would do a video a day with you, God, if you didn't have a job.
Sweet.
But you know, so I just watched the 200th episode, the 200th episode of SG-1. You know, where they have all these crazy, you know, it's just a clips episode.
I hated that when it came out. Hated that.
Marty. Let me tell you,
Didn't get it.
I laughed out loud at one part. Vala is pitching all these crazy ideas, and it's like, when you think about, oh yeah, that's Wizard of Oz. Oh yeah, that's Terminator. And then they show these clips of all the SG-1 characters, in oh God, what was that? What was that? The Muppet sci-fi show with Ben Browder and Claudia Black.
It was World Police, where they were taking the piss out of, wasn't it?
Farscape.
Oh, Farscape. Oh, sorry, I'm with you. Farscape.
And so then all the characters are dressed up in these crazy Farscapian kind of characters. Then Marty goes, after the clip, Marty goes, I don't even know what that was. It's got Thor going, Yark.
But no, I am with you. I think She-Hulk is quite bad.
I understand She-Hulk's supposed to be a comedy. I get that. The comic book
is supposed to be a comedy.
It's just the Deadpool of all of that.
They can't keep doing the same thing at the end of the day. They can't keep doing the same things. They're trying to do different things.
Right.
They're doing horrors and they're doing all sorts, but I'm not so sure about She-Hulk. But I think they were always going to struggle with She-Hulk. You either take fun of it and poke fun, or you just don't make it. And I think that was the thing. But I am struggling a little bit. But I tell you what, the Hawkeye series was actually loads better than I thought it was going to be.
And you know what? The what was it? Winter Soldier and the Patriot, was it? Yeah.
I found that a little boring.
I thought it was a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
I saw
it good in bits, but on the whole, I wasn't a big fan.
And they're in the two characters, their interaction.
Yeah.
The new Captain America and Winter Soldier. I kind of like the writing in it, but it doesn't stand up. When these short series that they're doing, it doesn't stand up to the quality of Loki.
No.
Or WandaVision. Because WandaVision and both Loki, you're sitting there like, what the hell is going on? And you do that for episode 2. Yeah. And then by the time you get to episode 3, oh my God, it's this and this. And oh my God, this points to this. And then there's the other thing. And oh my God, I can't stand it. And then you watch it.
WandaVision was a slow burn, though. Let's be honest. It was a freaking slow burn. But listen, right. We have to call it an evening, because we're at the hour mark and you've pushed it a little thing. And I will be honest, as always at this point in these videos, I need a wee. So on the Lord of the Rings, just to end that whole conversation and draw the circle, because it's a ring and there's a massive one behind me.
Right.
We enjoyed it. There's a lot more to do. There's a lot further to go. And a lot of these YouTube videos, they're full of shit because they've got an agenda. Done. Excellent. Stormy, even though you are very poorly and you haven't got your normal speakers and everything, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome.
Next week we will be back, and we will be back with Harris, and I actually have to go to the toilet. So
okay,
Stormy, say goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Bye, Stormy.
Bye. Y'all be good. Thank you for watching.
I hope you feel better. Bye, everybody.
Go pee.